Long before Keeping Up with the Kardashians was even thought of, there was PBS's An American Family. Pat Loud, one of the stars of that groundbreaking reality series, just passed away at the age of 94. The news of her passing was announced by her family via social media on Monday. Loud passed away peacefully in her sleep at her Southern California home. She was surrounded by her children Michelle, Delilah, Kevin, and Grant. Let's pay our respects to Mrs. Loud by reflecting on her life story. We'll also take a closer look at An American Family and how it altered the face of television in so many ways. It was, after all, the first real reality TV show, as we know them today, to hit the airwaves. So stick around for the second half of this video to learn some little-known behind-the-scene facts. A loud and vibrant life. Loud was born and raised in Eugene, Oregon. She was the daughter of Thomas and Merle Loud. She was married to William Loud. Pat attended Stanford University in 1948, where she studied world history and English literature. She always had an inquisitive mind. After receiving her degree, she returned to her hometown. That's when she was introduced to the man she would fall in love with and eventually marry. After tying the knot in Mexico City, the newlyweds welcomed their first son into the world, Lance Russell Loud, in June of 1951. After having 4 more children, moving to Santa Barbara, California, and going through a highly publicized divorce, Pat's life was all geared up for her to take the stage for a second act of sorts. After spending time living in an apartment in New York's historically posh Upper East Side and taking on a new career in the book business, she relocated to Bath, England. Wherever Pat went, an opportunity to spend an evening at her table always meant the same thing for those lucky enough for an invite. One could expect the food to be remarkable, the drinks to be ever-flowing and top shelf, and the conversation to be intellectually stimulating. She was an advocate. When Lance contracted HIV, Pat moved back to LA to be by his side. She was his tireless advocate for the rest of the 90s. Unfortunately, he died from complications of hepatitis C in 2001. Lance left behind a legacy. He was, in fact, the first openly gay person to appear on television. He famously came out on An American Family in January of 1973. He later became a key individual in the LGBT+ movement. Eventually, he would even write for The Advocate, one of the nation's leading LGBT magazines. Pat was the fiery, uncompromising matriarch of her brood. She stood up for outsiders and misfits of the world. She wouldn't permit bigotry or judgment in her household. Still, she never locked her door, and there was always an extra seat at her table. She never backed down. She was the kind of person who lived with no regrets. She was known for being boisterous yet respectful. She wasn't afraid or ashamed of speaking her mind, but always had an open ear to the thoughts and opinions of others. Some might have mistaken her confidence for haughtiness. She might have been self-assured, but she was far from cocky. Pat loved to read, and any given morning you could catch her sipping her morning coffee while reading the New York Times and doing the crossword puzzles. She was fascinated with myths and legends about the Knights Templar, obsessed with Billie Holiday and Kurt Weill, and had a particular fondness for the Mumps. Bill Loud, her ex-husband, passed away in 2018 from natural causes. Before his death, Bill and Pat had lived in their cozy home together for 17 years, despite the fact they were divorced. They both grew up during the Depression and World War II, but despite living through these difficult chapters in world history, they both became vibrantly creative and independent people. According to Pat's family's Facebook post announcing her death, her last wishes were for everyone to take the time to sit down and have a meal with family and friends. She would love that more than anything else, the post read. Pat Loud won't be soon forgotten, and neither will the legacy left behind by An American Family. We don't mean to get sidetracked, but if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And hit the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content. Stay tuned to find out how An American Family's legacy changed the way we watch TV. The first true reality show. Reality TV was born on January 11, 1973, when An American Family premiered on PBS. A camera crew moved into the Santa Barbara home of Bill and Pat Loud with their 5 children. Several months before the show's debut, producer Craig Gilbert embarked on a mission to document the living patterns and mentality of your average middle-class American household. Instead, Gilbert captured the drama of the Loud family, as Lance, their eldest son, was in the process of coming out. Lance was just 20 at the time when he revealed he was gay. It was a time when homosexuality was addressed in a very hush-hush way. It was the first time the subject was directly addressed on primetime television. At the same time, Bill and Pat Loud were also going through a very difficult transition. Their marriage of 20 years was coming to an end. And while divorce had previously been featured in TV programs, this was the first time Americans saw the process through the eyes of non-actors. Albert Brooks made a film called Real Life in 1979 that parodied the trailblazing series. 2 decades later, MTV launched The Real World, an early reality show inspired by An American Family. It wouldn't be until the year 2000 that the genre would really catch on in the mainstream with the debut of Survivor. PBS took a gamble and won. PBS was strapped for cash at the time of An American Family's premiere. The network was still in its infancy. They had high hopes the show would catch on and become a blockbuster success, and fortunately, their gamble paid off. Viewers were fascinated by what they saw on their TV screens. Gilbert and his film team recorded over 300 hours of footage for the series in late 1971. Apparently, it took the family about a month to act naturally while in front of the cameras. At first, they were really distracted by the equipment and crew, but in time, they forgot they were even there. That's when Gilbert started getting the good, candid footage that would define the series. The age-old debate. An American Family received widespread attention in the press for several months after it first aired. Critics both applauded it and panned it, and the American public couldn't stop talking about it. It's probably one of the most contested documentaries of all time. After the series debuted, there was a bit of debate whether the family was actually behaving as if they would if the cameras weren't rolling. Obviously, this is a question that comes up quite often whenever discussing reality TV shows. There are countless examples of modern reality shows that are far from genuine. Selective editing and sometimes even blatant scripting has marred the reputation of shows claiming to be representations of reality. Even back then, people accused the series of dialing up the drama just for ratings. But these arguments only fueled public interest. The show spawned 2 follow-up series, the first of which, An American Family Revisited, The Louds 10 years later, aired on PBS in 1991. In 2003, PBS produced Lance Loud, A Death in an American Family. In 2011, HBO produced a made-for-TV movie entitled Cinema Verite. The film gave viewers a more dramatized look into the show's creation. Tim Robbins and Diane Lane played Bill and Pat Loud, and Thomas Dekker played Lance. Some have called Pat Loud the mother of reality television. While that designation is undoubtedly fitting, she was far more than just that. For those who knew her intimately, she was one of the finest friends anyone could ask for. She was honest, passionate, and unrelenting in her desire to elevate the lives of those around her. Hopefully, her family can find some peace in this solemn and heartbreaking time. We'd love to hear from you. Do you think An American Family gave audiences a genuine peek inside a typical middle America family? Or do you agree with critics who say it was dramatized to increase viewership? Let us know what you think in the comments section. And before you go, make sure you like this video and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.
And we always glommed on